Yes, they said it wouldn't last, but yet here we are. The season premiere, season 17 of the High Noon Hemp Show. If you're watching live, of course, that means it is noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. You can watch us live or video on demand anytime you want. Get the full glory of the show and all its visual, well, glory. You can do that. Temptations Beach Facebook page, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, and of course at Temptations on Twitter. If you just want the podcast, of course, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Just search the High Noon Hemp Show, and you will find us. I am Stoner Jesus. He is Beach, high above the Temptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters. How are things this week in the world of Temptations, Beach?
Still pretty chill. It's true. The world seems to be pretty chill right now. No, actually, it's gotten colder here. I think we had our last final nice days, but
Yeah.
so it's more weather that's chill. As much as anything is chill. That's true. Welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. It is episode 1 of season 17. Season 17. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. It's a lot. It's a lot. Welcome again. I am Beach. I am high above the Sharonville location in Planet Everywhere Production Studios for all of its glory. And remember, folks, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. Just so you know.
Any day.
Not much going on in the local world. I am quite interested in this year's crops in Ohio, if not everywhere. Um, Mainly because we've had a drought towards the end of the growing season. So I am really curious um, as to how that is working out with the hemp being grown in Ohio. It's interesting because I saw an article recently about Texas farmers were, kind of bitching because they were told this was a drought resistant crop, which normally it is unless you're growing for CBD. And so there's the CBD. When you're growing for flower, you're going to have to make sure that it has the right amount of water and all that at all times. Grain and fiber, it's a little bit different. And so, I suppose what I'd really love to see is if the drought did affect Ohio farmers or farmers anywhere, and was it the CBD that was affected the most? Did it affect the fiber crop? Did it affect the grain crop? Those I'm going to look into that actually and just see uh, if it really has affected the crops in Ohio. And of course, most more than likely, I'm sure that it did affect CBD because once again, when you're growing for CBD or CBG or the flower, it's it needs a little bit more care than just the grain or the fiber plant does when it comes to growing hemp. It's true. All right, let's jump right into the product spotlight. Apparently, I was feeling blue again this week. Oh no, I'm already jumping ahead to the next section because I'm so excited about it all the time. Let's do the product spotlight first. Four from the store, one from my door. Sometimes more. The first one here is the top hand glove scarf. That's right. The chilly weather, I believe, is going to be here to somewhat stay, at least in the greater high area, as I like to, the high state area. Um, so if you need a scarf maybe to get you through the winter, there it is. And again, most of the inventory that I show on the show is at the Sharonville location. It's usually where I take my picks before going live. Um, the next one here is we got a nice little collection. We have to disperse some of these into the other stores because different colors. The hemp hoodlamp paperboy hats. And again, I don't know that they have ear flaps, but they're super thick and somewhat warm. So if you're looking for a stylish hat, get in and get yourself a hemp hoodlamp paperboy hat. They're nice indeed. How about this? I can't believe I didn't make this the first one, but we did get some of these in the store. I showed these off on the "What Are You Wearing" Beach segment a couple weeks ago because my print people made these for me. I call this the Hempgoal, the Hemptations Hempgoal tee. So everybody's jumping on the bandwagon Of course, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon only with design ideas when it comes to supporting our local football team, I suppose. But if you want to wear hemp, support the local team. There you have it, folks. The good old Hemptations Hempkle tea. Again, there's a decent about they might only be like medium to larges, but we're trying to get them in the stores as much as we can with some of the blank inventory that we just had on hand. So we're probably gonna have to order some black T-shirts to do some black ones. We'll go from there. But there you have it. Get into the Sharonville location. Get yourself a Hemptations Hempkle shirt. Support them, Hempkles. Mm. Uh, and the last one here is actually Kind Hemp socks. I wore a pair uh, not too long ago on the show. I believe it might have even been last week, a blue pair, because I know I wore blue on the What Are You Wearing Beach segment of the show. And so here is a selection. They mostly natural and black as far as the Kind Hemp socks go. But they're like a medium thickness, so they're good for the winter as well. I do believe that, and they've held up really well through wearing and washing. I'll say this is they're doing a really good job of they're still a little stretchy. They're very comparable to a pair of average socks when it comes to that. So get yourself a pair of Kind Hemp socks for the winter if you need them, or just a pair of socks for whenever because you need them. I don't care.
Yeah.
And the one from my door is my Baja custom made. It's laying here on the end of my bed, but you can see now this is all hemp, custom made. The piece in the middle there is where I put my head, so I wear it. I suppose some of this stuff I should actually put on to illustrate. I feel like I should have done that for part of the "What Are You Wearing?" just as the bonus, or yeah, gone right into "What Are You Wearing?" with the here's the product from my door, maybe.
We never did get our full beach runway show. It's been over 4 years now, and the people are still waiting.
It is true. It is true that we have not done that, much to the chagrin of you know
They're
uh,
clamoring for it.
my model agency that really wants me to get some of this credit for all this modeling that I'm doing. You can tell from the "What Are You Wearing" Beach segment that I am in no way have I ever had any modeling training. That is for sure. Um, but there's my custom. And again, this would definitely I feel like have to make the runway as one of my fashion accessories. It's kind of neat. It's also got it actually has like little zipper pockets on the inside where I could put my stuff. I had it made, ironically, for a Halloween costume from probably about 10 years ago, where I went as a cowboy and an Indian. So halfway through the party, I dressed up as a cowboy first. Okay. And then halfway through the party, I went and I changed into traditional Indian, as in from India gear, clothing. And for the second half of the party, I was an Indian. So, uh, anyway, I thought that was fun. Wearing as much hemp as I could, where I could. I think my cowboy outfit was all hemp for the most part. My Indian outfit, I had my traditional Indian. I should know what they're called. The male, basically, it's a male dress that most men in India wear. That I had brought back from India with me. So that was a fun Halloween idea, no doubt about it, um, for sure. All right, there you have it, folks. Product spotlight: 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Which, of
Yeah.
course, brings us to, as Beach previewed already, another blue week in the beachwear segment. It's a very important segment. We're now in season 17 of the segment, the greatest internet segment in history. I will keep saying that. No one's come to prove me wrong yet, and I don't think they will because they can't. If you can, well, bring it. That's what I
Bring
always.
it.
In any case, I ask Beach a very important question every single episode, and he, of course, gives me a very important answer when I say this: What are you wearing, Beach?
That's right. What are you wearing, Beach? Well, now you'll know. It is again blue. The jacket will look familiar for last week's. Yeah, that is on top there. I do have my one of my favorite hats of all time, which is my Fair Hemp hat. It just says hemp on it and kind of the Ford logo, which is going back to Ford having a hemp car way back in the day. The jacket, again, my favorite hemp hoodlamp jacket, just because it is Kentucky blue, and so I would do wear that one a lot. It's true. My shirt is SBP brand. I don't know who actually made these T-shirts originally, but it's SPB is what it says on the label. Um, Printed here at the Planet Everywhere manufacturing facilities, Temptations University on the front there. I kind of base the whole outfit on these pants because I don't know that I have ever worn these pants before ever in the history of time since I've had them. I don't really know, with all this kind of moving and trying to get organized, I found them. I'm like 100% surprised that they fit because they look super small. But these are Rawneek pants. Rawneek has great products. I need to get their twine back in at the very least. They make some great twine and yarn and things like that, on top of a lot of other great hemp products that they make. These are button fly. They are like a super dark blue. They almost look black, in all honesty, but I do believe that they are, in fact, like a really super, uh, dark blue pant, which is why I went with blue again this week. In the pocket there, you can see my Green Springs Technology pen. Definitely check out Rawneek online. I'm sure that they have to have a website and some of their great. Oh, I know they have a website. What am I saying? And they have a lot of great products, whether it's their brand or other brands. And I'm thinking of hemp teak when I'm thinking of yarn. I'm sorry, folks. Rawneek is one of the original hemp retail websites out there. Yeah, I'm getting my geeks confused. Hempteak is the yarn twine makers. Rawneek is a maker of hemp goods and also a retailer of hemp goods online. So check them out for anything that you may or may not need in your hemp world. A pair of Hemptopia briefs underneath it all, and then some Satori Canaleaf socks with my Saucony Jazz shoes. And again, those Saucony Jazz is part of the Jazz line, which I believe the entire Jazz line, look into it, is actually a vegan line of shoes. And of course, they're going to use hemp because it's this, it's great uh, for that kind of stuff. There you have it, folks. If you're wondering, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know from head to toe here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Nice.
Ba-da-ba-bop. Um, I reported earlier in the year that BEMP, the company BEMP, BEMP Research Corporation, was working on a hemp battery. Well, they have done it, folks. They have made a lithium ion sulfur battery using carbonized hemp. I don't know what that really means. And that carbonized hemp, though, is replacing all of the heavy metals, except for the lithium, of course. It is found to be lightweight and also durable, less likely to combust, they're finding, and easier to recycle because, again, most of it being made out of hemp is easily compostable, biodegradable. Everything else, I guess, would be recyclable. The only thing I think that's not is, again, just that lithium that you have to have in there. Now, I can't believe that you couldn't extrude the lithium and reuse it or something. I mean, again, if you're going to have a uh, battery recycling system at all, which most do, should. Even I think even double A's we should be able to take back to the store and drop off, and they should. I feel like they should be able to use those again as opposed to put them in the trash. Or what we try to do is I save them all, and then they do actually go to a recycling center that hopefully gets them in the right place to be reused. Uh, I know Best Buy used to have tubs in the front of their stores that you could recycle a lot of different kind of electronics and electronic related things. Obviously, it's much safer on the landfill if we have a hemp battery. Not that it would ever, hopefully never really go to the landfill. Hopefully, again, it would get recycled and reused, but and better environmentally friendly. And this is going to cut the cut. I saw it's going to cut the cost down as well, at the very least. So BEMP did it. Yay! We'll see. We'll see um, how far the hemp battery, lithium ion sulfur battery goes for them, or what they, I have no idea if it's a car battery, if it's going to be double A's, is going to be, I really honestly am not sure what the whole process is here. So we'll continue to follow BEMP in their hemp battery conquests, one way or another. Here, this is kind of interesting. Now, one of the new things, especially with CBD, that we are having to pay attention to is drug interactions, and that is drugs you're on or drugs you're using, and how they interact with CBD. We do know that blood pressure drugs are definitely one of them, because CBD is known so well to reduce blood pressure. You have to be careful if you're on blood pressure medicine. We're definitely seeing that one being interesting. Here's an interesting study that showed, oh no, they're going to look into it. This is more a little bit of correlation as opposed to causation, but it all, it makes sense to me. And these are doctors and scientists that were talking about this. But the question was, can CBD mess with birth control? And the answer is a kind of a yeah. um, they do believe that CBD can disrupt estrogen production, okay, and may interact with estrogen based birth control. So, obviously, I think that's the pill for the most part. But if you are on any birth control pill that is estrogen based, then and using CBD, you may want to. I don't know what to do. I think that there will probably be more studies to see whether, you know, they're not necessarily saying that it may be a bad thing or a good thing. It just may be there may be an interaction, and so there may be something there, And again, we're going to find this with more because CBD does so much. It does. Again, this is from our customers. This is from all the studies I've ever talked about, because we know CBD does so much. Then, for the health and the benefit of, and again, here's the thing, and this is what I have always said, is the goal is to get off of pharmaceuticals and try to acquire homeostasis through all natural substances, and CBD, cannabinoids, all that, that's natural. Why would you take a pharmaceutical drug that's going to mess with your liver? And I'm not saying CBD doesn't mess with your liver a little bit, because there may be some there. So we got to, do some more science depending on how much and whatnot. Um, but again, synthetic pharmaceutical drugs, that anything you put in your body that's synthetic, it's like fake sugar. Again, your body it does not know how to digest that. It was made in a lab. Okay, your body doesn't have the scientific know-how to figure out how that thing was made in a lab, and then figure out how to break it down so we get either the nutritional value, or so that it passes through our system easily. We wonder why we have all these high rates of cancer when we have these synthetic substances that we continue to put in our body on a semi-regular basis, and also food product that we don't digest correctly. But anyway, and so using a natural substance to get off of any synthetic pharmaceutical seems to me to be should be the goal of every human. It's a tough one, because most people are beholden to their doctors, and they'll just take their word for, oh, you should be taking this, don't change, whatever. Most people do that. I think life-threatening drugs are one thing, and blood pressure drugs, at the very least, blood pressure drugs are important. Trust me, I know. Um, and so, you know, but in the same sense, we see more studies to see, hey, if you're on this many milligrams of this blood pressure medicine, you can easily take this many milligrams of CBD and get the same benefits. And so uh, if CBD doesn't make the birth control work as well, then obviously, that's something you would want to know, for sure, no doubt about it. And so, and in what way does if it disrupts estrogen production, um, could that be beneficial to some women? I don't know. I don't know. And so, but be careful if you are on estrogen-based birth control and using CBD. There may be some interactions there that you don't want, like getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Ugh. And if you do, then you can blame the CBD one way or another. Um, Diwali, the celebration of lights, is happening in India. I've got a couple recipes here that I want to show because they've got hemp in them. So get ready to do a screenshot if you want to save these recipes. The first one here is for Basan Burfi, which is chick chickpea fudge, which sounds 100% delish. And so it's got a tablespoon, and again, I'm seeing more and more recipes pop up in India. Hemp food is becoming more and more popular in India, exponentially quickly. In all honesty, so there's the chickpea fudge recipe. Now here is the a recipe for date nut roll, which is Kajar Katli. And again, this has even more hemp seed in it to make yourself a little date nut roll. Um, which sounds like something fun you might want to do on a Friday night with your significant other. A little date nut roll, um, one way or another. And speaking of hemp foods, hopefully you got enough time to screen shoot those recipes. Let's just go ahead and show this pic, which is a pic of basically the nutritional value of hemp. And this was in an article that was comparing, um, how does hemp compare to chai and flax? Now, what they say is, again, it's six things for the hemp one. Number one, high and complete protein. Number two, good for the heart. Number three, could be beneficial to the skin. We know that hemp oil is good for the skin used externally. Does that same hemp oil that comes from that seed when you eat it, does that, help your skin? There's probably a good chance that those proteins and whatnot would, are helping there. But there's no real scientific proof yet that that's the case. Um, it does support digestive health. When you look at the fiber content, if it's a hulled seed, you only get about 1.2 grams of fiber. But if you have the whole seed, it's almost 3 grams. So it almost triples in fiber content if you eat the whole seed. And of course, the whole seed is a little bit harder to eat. I compare it to popcorn. Like, there's a good chance you're going to get something stuck in your teeth. It's definitely a little crunchy. I think roasting the whole seed and then lightly spicing it with something, salt, pepper, spices, whatever. It makes it a little easier to eat the whole seed, but you get that full nutritional value. Basically, you're just adding the fiber because the seeds basically, I guess, is pretty much 100% fiber. I don't know if there's any other nutritional value in the actual shell part of the seed. Now, I can only assume, and I don't know, and I haven't seen this yet. Like, there's a lot of hulled seed, so most people just want the hulled seed, the inner core much easier to eat. You can do so much more with it. The list of foods, it was like everything, but add it to smoothies, oatmeal, salad dressing on top of, I mean, there's so much you can do with that whole seed. The whole seed, hulled has no shell. Whole seed has the shell. Um, is a little harder to work with, I think, as a food product. But it does beg the question in my head that I've never thought about before: are they taking that shell and then making a fiber product? Like, you almost think that, how can these, you know, products that brag about having high fiber to help you move your system along aren't adding whole seed to their makeup, their powdered makeup? Because you can just, once you hold the seed, bag that up, then you're going to end up with all these shells, obviously high in fiber, need to go somewhere and should go into the human body probably, or into something that, even if it's into a pill, it's a hemp seed pill that's based on fiber content, because that would be kind of interesting. I feel like there's got to be a huge, huge business there for anybody that takes hemp seed, and cracks it and separates the shell from the inner core for whatever reason. Um, and I know that, Manitoba, I think they used, because they had a fiber smoothie mix, and I think that was their whole seed mix. And then they, I think they don't, I don't know if they used the whole seed in all of their smoothie mixes and protein powders and whatnot. So pretty pretty good stuff when it comes to the hemp food. As always, there's no lack of of hemp food stuff going on in the world. That is for sure. Um, this is interesting. And if you're going to Hong Kong after February, 100% do not take your CBD. Okay, they are putting the same 7 years, 7 years jail for CBD, which is the same for cocaine and heroin. So then, and that's just personal possession. That's not, obviously not. I can't even imagine. You would never be seen again, probably, if you had like a large amount of any of that on you. But a personal possessions amount of CBD in Hong Kong after February will be comparable to their cocaine and heroin sentencing laws. So Hong Kong's going backwards with CBD. The rest of the world seems to be going in the somewhat right direction with CBD, and not a Hong Kong. Remember that. Remember that. Um, this is kind of interesting, and I realize this because cannabis is not categorized as a stimulant or a depressant, but CBD is not a stimulant or a depressant. Okay, it is more what they call a regulator, because it works with what? The endocannabinoid system. And so our body actually makes, and just learning this, I guess I should have known this, but our body, and that's why we have an endocannabinoid system, because our body makes cannabinoids on occasion, and then gets into the system and then goes to the body where we need it. That's what we know about the cannabinoids that we're currently working with, is because we have this receptor system, which then shoots it out to the CB1 receptor and the CB2 receptor, two different that run throughout the body. Okay, and basically what it does is it takes in the CBD or the cannabinoids. The brain says, "Hey, I can use this here," and then sends it out to where you need it. That's why, the tincture really works as well as anything, is because that CBD gets right into the bloodstream, instantly into the endocannabinoid, running into the endocannabinoid system, and then out through the CB1 or CB2 receptors to decide how, or what it needs to be doing, whether it's anti-anxiety effects or it's anti-inflammation effects that we're finding most of our customers using on a regular basis. Then that's what it does. And so Cannabis has that reputation. If it's indica based, then it's more of a downer. If it's sativa based, then it's more of kind of an upper. Sativa is kind of your daytime cannabis, where indica is your nighttime cannabis. What I have learned is one of the reasons why that may be even is because indica, they say, tends to have a higher CBD content along with that THC Delta 9 content, which could be why it's more of a mellow, calming buzz, where if it might be less in the sativa. So, you know, cannabis itself, and they don't call it a stimulant, but it does increase the heart rate. Okay, it opens up. It's a bronchial dilator. Is that what it is? Where it makes the lungs bigger, and so it actually makes it easier to breathe when using cannabis. Um, and so, but it's medically classified, I believe, as an hallucinogen. Which again, I feel like there's a lot more medical studies that we need to do to figure out exactly what it is. Can it be multiple things? And again, I think that's why they say it's not a stimulant or a depressant, because it can work both ways. It can give you, like some clarity and uplifting feeling if you need it, and it's also very well known for its calming ability. You know, um, but I think smaller doses during the day to get the benefits, and maybe higher doses at night. Maybe what some people need to do with that, but it's not really one direction or another. Again, the calming and tired and being tired are two different things. CBD is calming. It's not like even a lot of people use it for sleep, and I always tell people it's not for people that don't have a problem falling to sleep, but people that have a problem with longevity. Because I think that what happens is if you're okay with falling asleep, then those calming effects help you get a longer sleep. It's not making you sleepy necessarily. It just makes your body to be able to create again, more homeostasis and get better longevity of sleep. Um, I think some people picture, because it's so calming and anti-anxiety, it's like, I want to go take a nap when you take it. That's not really the way it works. It just removes that anxiety by calming the brain, but not making you tired. It doesn't make you tired. I think Delta 9 has a better chance of actually making you tired after use than CBD does. And we're all seeing a little bit of that with Delta 8 as well. Um, when it comes to Delta 8, of course, is an extract that we get from growing industrial hemp. And as well as Delta 9 and Delta 10 and THCO and HHC and THCP and all these others that we're finding, um, have their own specific breakdowns, what they may or may not do. When the goal is to get that body in homeostasis, one way or another. Oh yeah, this is fun. Realm of Caring. They did a study that showed positive results of using just 60 milligrams of CBD per day. We're seeing a lot of stuff out there, and I think it's almost on the anti CBD move of things, where they're saying, well, a dose of less than 100 milligrams can't do anything, and you got to have so many milligrams to get the effect. I think, and this is great to see an actual study that prove that's 20 milligrams of CBD 3 times a day. Okay, that is that is close to the starting. This is where we start people out. You start kind of small, and again that depends on body weight, because 15 milligrams per dose is good for a person that weighs about 150 pounds to start with, to see again. knowing that again, you don't need a whole lot to get the results that you want necessarily, depending on how severe the need is. And that's the one thing about it is the lower dose works pretty effective for a lot of the purposes that our customers use it for. And again, I think the anxiety part of that, I think you can get good results, and I think our customers do get good results with a minimal amount of CBD. There are, obviously, and that's a scale that can be, you can take 100 milligrams per dose, and there are probably people out there that may do that, but that's, to me, that's like a chronic disease dose. That's something where you're as much trying to provide yourself a quality of life because of the severity of what you may be going through, type of dose. Where I think, depending on, we always recommend to start 10 milligrams. I'm sorry, 1 milligram per 10 pounds of body weight. Okay, so again, if you weigh 150 pounds, 15 milligrams, start with 15 milligrams of a dose of 15 milligrams, and see if you get the desired effects that you're looking for. And again, that's 3 times a day. Um, that's what I always recommend. And then you can if you're looking for that longevity of sleep, you can bump that up a little bit before you go to bed. And we're also seeing that for most people, continual use is most beneficial. Um, and so I think that with pain, that's continuing. You get yourself on a regular regimen, taking a certain amount, wake up afternoon, night, maybe, on a daily basis. I think with some of the other stuff, with the anxiety, I think you may just want to use it when you need it, when you feel like you need it, and I think that works pretty well. And so I think there are different reasons why people. Well, I know there's different reasons why people use CBD because it does so much stuff. Um, but I think that some of that stuff, you benefit by just adding it to your regular regiment of living. Um, and you can add that CBD oil to your food product needed. You could drop it on your oatmeal in the morning, and if you didn't want to put it under your tongue or whatever. Um, but I think we know that I've seen studies that proven that daily use, you get, it takes about 5 to 7 days before you actually are optimally running everything through the system the way it can optimally. So it works short term and it works long term. I shouldn't say it doesn't. It's beneficial if you're on it long term. It's not, you know, how long those effects last. How long do you get the benefit? That's different from everyone, and we're going to find that out. We recommend 3 times a day for people, but it is also used as needed. If you feel it coming on, whatever it may be, then you can use it. Our body, it's a fat soluble oil, and so I think it acts just like all the others. Is if our body doesn't need it, then it just eventually weans it out of our system. So we use what we need. There really is no too much. We haven't found an overdose of CBD quantity amount yet, which I can't imagine. How much CBD you'd have to take to have an adverse effect, and don't confuse overdose with death, because just because you have an overdose doesn't mean you died. It just means that your body had a negative reaction to too much of something. And yes, you can overdose on caffeine and whatever. And so the term overdose has a very negative connotation. But all it really means is someone took too much of something that affected them negatively, uh, and that's how it got reported. Okay, it doesn't mean anybody died from it doesn't mean that the people didn't just survive. They might have gone to the hospital with a CBD overdose, so to speak. I'm just saying that. Um, and then everything was fine in the long run. We're seeing some THC Delta 9 now, where people, um, and again, it's because it affected them in ways that made them feel wrong, but might not necessarily have done any harm, or and most more than likely would not have killed them or could kill them. So far, no death certificates having a cannabinoid as the cause of death. It hasn't happened. It's not going to happen, honestly. I still don't believe that it's ever going to happen. Although a young child, a baby, who may have passed away with too much of something, we're going to see how that actually works out. Um, all in all, because there is a mother now actually being held because their child passed away from eating a bunch of gummies, and it was a baby. I don't even know how the baby got the gummies. I don't know I don't know the whole story, but it's tragic. But they are relating it to. I think they're actually relating it to THC Delta 9. They're kind of making it sound like it's CBD too, but I don't think that's true, one way or another. Um, Australia hitting the old hemp boom. Of course, now they've been growing hemp since about 2010, but not for food. They just legalized food in Australia in 2017. Um, and now what we're actually seeing is they're moving into the fiber aspect of growing industrial hemp. And so, um, yeah, Australia's going. They're starting to get pretty full blown with it, um, one way or another. So good for them. And again, it's kind of funny because they were the actual last country. Well, I don't even know. I suppose there may be some other countries out there that don't have hemp food and hemp grain food products. But it wasn't until 2017 that Australia said those were legal. So, One World, I've talked about this. One World Products of Columbia CEO Isaiah Thomas, yes, Detroit Pistons basketball player Isaiah Thomas, sees a future in hemp in cars. So this is really neat. They are working with companies and going to try to get GM or Ford or somebody to buy into building cars with hemp. Um, they make a slight mention of the biofuel, hemp biofuel, possibly. I don't know that we'll ever transform into that being uh, something that the automakers want to mess with. Um, but again, as far as liquid fuel, that'd be great. Fuel, that'd be great. So I'm really excited about what One World Products is doing because again, their main push is hemp composites, plastics, things like that. So keep it up, Isaiah. Again, one of the best passers ever in the game of basketball. Great ball player. So he's going to do great things with hemp. I feel it. So we'll be making basketball courts out of hemp before we know it, somehow, some way. We can do hemp wood. They easily do a hemp wood basketball court. I wonder what the dribbling would be like, and would they know? Here's a picture of the newest House of Marley speaker. It's called the Solo. I do have. Here it is, right here on my desk. Actually, this is. I'll show this to you in a second. But this now, House of Marley has their own proprietary blend of um, textile. Okay, so the speaker textile and any textile type of material used in the speaker is almost equal parts basically reclaimed organic cotton, reclaimed hemp, which I think is interesting, and some type of where it is recycled plastic bottles. Okay, so they're basically recycled. The fabric itself is a recycled fabric, but and again they've been using hemp. They've been using hemp in there as a fabric for as long as I can remember. Here's my speaker. that sits my little Marley speaker that sits on my desk um, right here. And again, this all this on the outside, this outer fiber fabric is hemp. My headphones, I believe these are actually. I can't remember now if they're House of Marley. I feel like they might be, but the fabric on the top of my headphones, this fabric here, is also made of hemp. So it's around me. I forget these things all the time. This is like my headphones are another hemp product that I own. And I don't know if it's a hemp product because it's not 50% hemp, but it has hemp on it, so it is something I own that has hemp. Um, as part of my personal collection, the one for my door. Either way. Uh, but House of Marley has always been on the um, environmental aspect of speaker building. I think it's bamboo. I'm pretty sure the wood that they use is bamboo, which is highly sustainable. And so, thank you, House of Marley speakers, for continuing to use hemp and coming up with your proprietary. This is their own. And again, now if that works well for speakers, all of a sudden, and there are speakers on the market right now that you can buy that have hemp cores in them. If you go to eBay, if they're still there, but there is a company that makes um, hemp speakers now, and it has for a long time. As far as the paper cone part, and of course, out in Colorado, you've got, and I can't believe that I'm not going to remember the name of the company, but they make hemp amps, and it's actually the wood, the outside, and everything. And so, you know, hemp can make it. I guarantee it, no matter what it is. You tell me what it is, and somehow we can figure out how to incorporate some hemp into it. I've always said that as well. Project Dunya produces hemp-based plastics, and they're going to get tax credits in Colorado. So they're already in Colorado. I think they're getting some tax credits to stay in Colorado. It's Dunya, Dunia, and I haven't really even checked out what hemp-based bioplastics or composites they're going to be making. But again, seems like the right place to be there. There is as much hemp, I think, being grown in Colorado as anywhere else. On its, Colorado is very cannabis friendly, and hemp is a part of that, no doubt about it. So I look forward to seeing, what kind of things Project Dunya actually produces, products they produce out of an hemp based bioplastics. But they're going to stay in Colorado with some tax credits. So good for them. Um, 3M, if you know about 3M, they're like the largest producers of all kinds of industrial products, it seems like. They are supporting research in Belgium to use hemp to clean up all their PFA waste. Again, I don't doubt that they have a lot of synthetic waste because they probably have a lot of synthetic products with all that they do. And so, I think that the results are going to be as interesting as anything to find out how well of a PFA phytoremediator hemp is. Phytoremediation is using a plant to basically suck the bad stuff out of the ground. This was kind of cool because I've talked about this quite a bit, and this answers a question that I have had, and that is, can we use that hemp to make a product out of? Okay, and Italy has shown that we can. They used hemp to clean up a heavy metal pollution site. Okay, then used that hemp, that stalk, in hempcrete, and found that it was in fact safe to build with. And which makes sense because the heavy metals, again, to me, as far as science goes and everything I know about the breakdown of this plant, to me, I think those heavy metals would be stored in either the fiber, because that's how the water gets from the roots all the way up to the plant to the leaves. Okay, and then and or the leaves, and so it doesn't ever make its way out to the stalk part, which is what we use for hempcrete, animal bedding, and those type of things. So um, there you have it. Clean up a super fun site, and then build a concrete building on it to memorialize the fact that it's clean, with the hemp being used to do that. We are, we're seeing, and we're going to see, this is the future of hemp in itself, is once again one of the futures of clean soil. I think we're going to find more and more that there may not be anything much better than growing hemp to remove heavy metals, chemicals, PFAs, all those things that we don't want in the soil that we've been putting in the soil for the last 50 to 100 years. Um, and then use that hemp to, you know, um, build something or make something or have a product that's safe, is the double whammy. Uh, because I think that a lot of the things that we have to do now, it's more of a collection, and then they still have to dispose of that waste. That waste has to go, and it's probably going to go in a tub if they collect it, or I don't know how all that works, and then get stored somewhere, um, until it can be disposed of safely. With hemp, we can just pull it right out of the ground and then go from there. It's brilliant. We do know that, I think it's in Illinois, that they are growing hemp in the watershed that goes into this lake that has been highly polluted, and we're going to see how that results in cleaning up the lake. But I think we're going to see some pretty positive results from that, as far as the leaching that's going on now. And clean up the waterways with hemp everywhere. Can you imagine just waterways, the Mississippi River, just hemp growing along it. No, I don't know. I don't know if it can clean up the Mississippi, but um, anywhere that there is dirty soil, hemp can help. We're pretty convinced of that. Another study, as far as growing hemp and how much nitrogen is your optimal amount of nitrogen. It is a nitrogen depleter. So if it needs fertilizer at all, nitrogen is what it needs. Now, I do believe we come across nitrogen, uh, I believe, in livestock fertilizer. So it's kind of that circle there, which is good. That needs to go somewhere. And if it can go somewhere to help a plant that is so beneficial, that's great. Um, you know, it doesn't have to have anything, but, we do know that nitrogen helps. I don't know, I didn't see any specifics as to the benefit of using 125, because they had different poundages, I believe, different weights of the amount of nitrogen. I don't know if that's per acre, which seems crazy. It was kind of vague in this article, so I'm going to have to get maybe some more clarity as to what was going on. What was interesting, though, because this is something that a lot of people are interested in right now as far as farming, is they did get success with a no-till planting, which makes sense to me because, um, I think that if you have a sapling, and you go through the field and you're planting saplings, depending how old it is, that hemp plant, that hemp root can break down. It can, you get it into the ground on top, and it's going to find its way into the soil. And again, it's going to help because it is so resilient at finding the water and the nutrients that it needs. Um, that it does not surprise me that we don't need to till, uh, to grow hemp. It still needs to be rotated. We're still finding best results is rotating, and so But I think, again, as far as a rotation crop, there is none better, no matter what you're doing with the end results. Um, so last week, when I did my presentation for the UC uh, marijuana and hemp class, I was followed by a Native American who has been growing hemp and working with the hemp growing in his state. But they have a project called Hempstead Project Heart. I'm going to put his information up here because one of their goals, and this is, it's a great goal to come up with right now. I hate to change anything, is to actually come up with a grain and fiber industrial hemp exemption. So if you're growing for grain or you're growing for fiber, it doesn't matter how much THC, CBD, Delta 8, CBG, doesn't make any difference. It will make no difference. Okay. Um, as to how much that content is, which is the way that it should be. When the grain is cleaned properly, there's no cannabinoids in or on the grain. Okay, fiber, there is no. I don't. Of course, I don't know if we've ever tested to find out if there's cannabinoids in the fiber, but there are no cannabinoids in the fiber. And so, again, if you plan on making a pair of jeans out of your crop, it should matter not how much delta 9 THC, how much delta 8, how much CBD is in the flour. Okay. Um, Same with the grain. If you're growing for grain, then it should not matter how much of that is in there. And so I do believe, um, and I definitely think that here's something that we should be pushing for in the state of Ohio, because I think if you have a grain or a fiber expense, then you should not have to pay that stupid licensing fee. You shouldn't even have to be honest with you, you shouldn't have to pay to have your plants tested at the end of the year, which you have to do twice in Ohio, I believe. I think you have to have tests done. On top of the licensing fee, on top of all the other ridiculous things that you have to do for this 100% legal farm commodity, is crazy. So I think an exemption in any sort is a great idea right now. Maybe if that's one thing we can try to talk them into including in the new farm bill, the federal farm bill that's coming up as part of the hemp program, that would be great. There's not much talk to a whole lot of changes that we've heard so far to the hemp program federal wise, but there are some. We want to increase the THC percentage at the very least, and I would love to see an exemption of testing and licensing and all that stuff. Of course, licensing fees, that's up to the state, not up to the federal. There's no law that says you have to charge a license. There's no law that says you have to test the hemp at the end of the year. The only the law, the policy, the law says that you have to have 0.3% or less THC. That's really about it. Okay. Um, and so, I suppose if there was a federal exemption, even though I don't know that we see that federal exemption would have to include THC, and there's no way they're going to do that. They're not going to make a federal exemption to THC for any reason, but they should, because then they're just going to argue, well, they're going to claim you're growing your hemp for jeans to grow jeans, but then all of a sudden you got a 28% THC content. What are you really going to do with it? But once again, to me, that's an afterthought. We have to be allowed to do it. And then if you're doing pulling shenanigans, then you get caught after the fact. Just like these people now that are supposedly growing their THC in the middle of their CBD, which is, of course, something they said would happen, which, of course, is happening. No different than everybody else that's growing their cannabis illegally anywhere in the world. It's just they're growing their cannabis illegal. It's not where it's growing. It's not how it's growing. It's not what it's growing in or around. They're growing an illegal substance. Okay, don't blame the corn, because that's what they used to do, is put it in the middle of their cornfields. Don't blame the corn. No one will ever blame the corn for growing cannabis, or the tomato fields, or whatever. And so Don't blame legal cannabis for illegal cannabis. It's ridiculous, and that's kind of what they, that's the way everybody looks at it. They still look at it as this terrible, terrible plant for the most part that we have to have all these exceptions on if you want to grow it. And once again, it's absurd. It's absurd that we have to go through that. So hopefully, we'll see some changes soon. But check into the Hempstead Project Heart. Support that. What they're doing, as well as anybody that supports higher THC or whatnot, more freedom to grow one way or another. All right, there's all the news fit to talk about. Not too many events going on, actually. November 3rd, you have the third annual Science of Hemp Conference, Production and Pest Management, down at the S. Good Barn in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm going to assume that is on the University of Kentucky's campus. And then November 11th, you have the Kentucky Hemp Association Annual Conference in Louisville. And that's it that I have right now. If you have an event, a hemp event you want me to add to the events, go ahead and get it over to me somehow, some way. Facebook is fine, email possibly, whatever. Don't have any questions. I have illustrated my thoughts. So remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See you all next week.